What's up, everybody? Welcome to another edition of the Awaken Jake College Football Show. Today is going to be a little bit of a different episode. It's going to be pretty short, just since we don't really have any games this week, and then the bowl games that start this weekend and go into the beginning of next week. Not really worth getting into. There's no P4 versus P4. It's a lot of G5 teams. There's a couple P4 versus G5, and I might give out like a short little preview before the game, but bowl season's just so difficult. So when it comes to any sort of bets, those will be posted day of the game on Twitter. I can't give out bets on bowl games a couple days in advance. There's just no way. It's so hard to read. But yeah, like I said, shorter episode today. We'll do a quick, preview of Army-Navy, but more so we're just going to get into news and notes from the week, and then just kind of get into what I said preseason to what actually happened. Pretty much this whole episode is just going to be about how stupid and dumb I was preseason. So if you want to see that, then you're in for a great episode to see just how stupid I was. But yeah, that's the game plan for today. Before we get into any of that, let's get a little high. All right, let's get into some news from the week. Transfer portal, it's officially open. I don't really want to get into this yet just because there's still a lot of people who are announcing that they're entering, then deciding not to leave the school that they're at currently. There's a lot of rumors like Dylan Raiola transferring but hasn't officially entered. There's a lot of that, and I just kind of want to wait till the dust settles. Much like the offensive coordinator, defense coordinator hires, I just want to wait till all the dust settles because we still have guys getting fired as of right now. I just want everything to kind of get settled before I really dive into the transfer portal. So we will get into it. I do promise that once all the dust settles, we will get into it. But it is officially open, and everybody's flooding to it. So there is a lot of names that are hopping in that transfer portal, and there's some big names hopping in. So transfer portal season will get interesting. I have my thoughts on the transfer portal. I'm not going to be one of those curmudgeons that says transfer portals ruin college football, blah, 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 blah. But there are some tweaks that need to be made. We need to fix the transfer portal. It's gotten ridiculous. That'll be something that, like I said earlier in a few episodes ago, that we'll get into at some point, rules and changes that I would make to college football. Transfer portal is one of those things that I would tweak. So we will get into that at some point. All the Power 4 head coaching vacancies, they have all been currently, they're all filled. And if you had me pick, because again, it's impossible to tell who's going to work out, who's not. There's been plenty of coaches that I thought there's no way in hell that works out, and it's been great, and vice versa. So if I had to pick one, I would probably say Purdue hiring Barry Odom would be my favorite hire and the one I think will work out the best. But again, who knows? We actually have no idea. This is just based on absolutely nothing. I guess my argument would be he was the head coach at Missouri. You could argue that when he was fired, sure, they weren't having a great season. Was he doing bad enough as a coach to be fired? I don't know. I don't think he personally was, but again, I'm not in the building. I don't make the decisions. I'm not behind the scenes, so what do I know? Finds his way to UNLV, has 2 great years at UNLV. UNLV had been down bad, and then he comes in and is great. Was a great coach for them. So I like this hire for Purdue. I think it's a good hire. Sucks for Ryan Walters that it didn't work out. He'll find his way somewhere. He'll be a defensive coordinator for a great team somewhere, let's be honest. These next 3, though, kind of crazy. Central Florida, they are bringing back Scott Frost. West Virginia is bringing back Rich Rodriguez. And North Carolina is hiring Bill Belichick. Yes, that Bill Belichick, the the Patriots' former head coach, the Super Bowl winning coach, that coach Tom Brady. That is who is going to be taking over North Carolina. What the fuck? Absolutely bizarre. I know we all knew that Belichick wanted to get back into coaching. We figured NFL. I don't think anybody thought college was even an option for him. I guess Steve went to college. He's now at Washington. He'll probably end up at UNC now. So I guess it kind of makes sense, but absolutely bizarre. We're going to play a quick little game. Fuck, marry, kill. With these three coaches, Scott Frost, Rich Rod, Bill Belichick. Fuck, marry, kill. I think you kill Bill Belichick. Legendary coach, has proven it at the highest level of football. College is a different game. It really is. And now, who knows? I mean, if he hires the right staff around him, he might just have to focus on actual coaching and that's it. I don't know. I don't love the hire. Again, who knows how it will work out? Maybe it'll be a success. I just don't like the hire. I didn't like it. That kill Bill Belichick. We will marry Rich Rod. I think he has proven it more than Scott Frost has. As everybody knows, he was already at West Virginia back in the early 2000s. We all know his success there. It was fantastic. Put West Virginia on the map. Takes the Michigan job. Fails. It's hard to say fails, but 3 years, I think only one bowl game. That's a failure. I think he took like 1-2 years off from coaching after that. Ends up with the head coaching job at Arizona. Had a few good teams at Arizona. I think he got fired, or he either got fired or quit. One of the two. Ends up as the head coach at Jacksonville State, where he has had a few good seasons there. He's a good coach. We've seen it at almost every stop he's been at. There's no reason why he can't be good at West Virginia. So I would marry Rich Rod, and then I guess just fuck Scott Frost. We saw what he did at UCF. We saw what he did at Nebraska. Which Scott Frost are we getting? Are we getting the same one we had at UCF previously? It probably won't be to that level. I don't know if we're going to have a 12-0, 13-0 season where they're calling themselves the national champions. But I guess it can't be worse than it was at Nebraska. So, bizarre. It was just a weird hiring cycle, bringing back two prodigal sons, I guess, bringing in Bill Belichick. Just bizarre. Not at all who I expected to be getting head coaching jobs when these positions opened up. I guess Barry Odom you could have kind of guessed, and Rich Rod as well. I don't think anybody was guessing Scott Frost or Bill Belichick. Just there's no way. If you say that you knew that those guys were going to be coaches, you're lying. Absolutely lying. All right. Let's get into seeing how my predictions turned out. When it comes to the preseason over-unders, I wasn't great, I wasn't terrible. Every time I do this, when I'd go through each team's schedule, mark out their wins and losses, conference and non-conference, I'm always better with the Big Ten, obviously, just because I'm a Minnesota fan, I watch a lot more Big Ten football, I'm more familiar with it. Big Ten's always the one I'm the best at. I went 11-7 on picking the over-unders this year. Overall, between all the Power Four conferences and then also including Washington State, Oregon State, and Notre Dame, I went 34-36. Not great, honestly. Under 500, don't love that. But the Big Ten, 11-7. I was really off on Illinois, Indiana. Actually, just Illinois and Indiana, really, when it comes down to it. There's a few teams, I was like 2 wins off, give or like up or down, but these ones I was really off. Illinois, as we know, finished the season 9-3. I had them 5-7 preseason. I had them winning only 3 games in conference. I had it being a down year, and boy, was I off. Indiana, I had them going 6-6, and as we know, they are currently in the playoff with 1 loss. So I don't know. I guess I had them making a bowl at least. I didn't have them as bad as Illinois, but wow, just absolutely off on those. And Wisconsin. I forgot about Wisconsin. I had them going 9-3 preseason, winning 7 conference games. and they didn't even make a bowl game. They went 5-7. So very off on those guys. But absolutely nailed USC. I had them going 6-6, and I had their conference record being 5-4. They went 6-6. They just went 4-5 in conference. I was close. And then Washington, I had them also going 6-6, which they ended up going. I just had them winning only 3 games in conference. They won 4. So basically nailed those two. Feels good to nail one once in a while. But I was very close. I was 1 win off, either up or down on Iowa, Maryland, Nebraska, Northwestern, Oregon, Penn State, Rutgers. Just the Big Ten's always my best conference. I had Minnesota going 9-3. I was a little maybe overconfident, but they were very close to a 9-3 record, so I don't think it was that overconfident. If you don't watch Minnesota football, you probably think I'm crazy for thinking that. SEC, I went 6-10. Not great. I was really off on a few of these teams. Auburn I had going 8-4. They went 5-7. Mississippi State, man, I had a little bit more faith in Mississippi State. I had them missing out on a bowl, but going 5-7, and they went 2-10. I also had South Carolina going 6-6. I still didn't trust that offensive line. I just did not, realize how electric Lenore Sellers was going to be, or how great that defense was going to be. I knew they were going to be good. I just didn't realize that good. They went 9-3, as we know. And then Vandy, I had you going 3-9, not winning a single game in the SEC, and they went 6-6, winning 3 games in the SEC. So, my bad. I was unfamiliar with your game. I apologize. Absolutely nailed Bama and Ole Miss. Exactly. I had them both going 9-3, 5-3. And that's exactly what they did. They won 9 games and 5 in conference. That was cool to actually nail it dead on like that. I was very close on Florida, Tennessee, Texas. I think I had Florida going 8-4, and they went 7-5, that sort of thing. ACC, this is where it starts to get a little off the rails, if it hadn't already. ACC, I went 7-10. And I was really off on quite a few teams. And some of these I don't really even want to tell you just because it is that embarrassing. Duke I had going 5-7. They went 9-3. This one I'm not as embarrassed about because I feel like I'm not the only one. I had Florida State going 10-2. They went 2-10. It's probably the one that I was the furthest on, just so off. But I'm less embarrassed about that one just because, like I said, I think everybody had Florida State, having at least a better year than 2-10. Georgia Tech, I had them going 4-8. They went 7-5. Virginia Tech, this is where it gets a little embarrassing. I had Virginia Tech going 10-2 this year, and they went 6-6. I could not have been further from that truth. And then the most embarrassing one, North Carolina State. Preseason, I had them playing for the conference championship game. I had them making the playoff. I had them beating Tennessee. I had them going 11-1 and 7-1 in conference, and they went 6-6. They didn't even sniff the conference championship, sniff the playoffs, anything. I was pretty embarrassed about that. I nailed Louisville. I had them going 8-4, 6-2, and they went 8-4, 5-3. So I was very close on that, just off on the conference. And then I was close on 7 others, a game off here and there, but I was really off on some of those misses. And then we hit the Big 12. Shockingly, my second best conference, which is really crazy just because of how up and down that whole conference was. And basically what it came down to is I was either basically dead on with the team on what I thought they were going to be this year, or I was just way off. It was night and day. It was weird. Half the conference I was off on. Like I said, I went 8-8. Arizona State, I had them going 4-8 preseason. As we know, they're 10-2 and in the playoffs. I had Baylor going 4-8 and Dave Aranda getting fired. or maybe it was 5-7. Either way, BYU, I had them going 4-8. They went 10-2. Iowa State, I had going 6-6, and as we know, they almost made the playoff. Kansas, I had going 11-1, and they went 5-7. And Kansas State, also 11-1. They went 8-4. Utah, I had Utah going undefeated this season. They won 5 games. And then Oklahoma State. I think this one also kind of, a lot of people were on this. I had them going 10-2. And as we know, Oklahoma State did not come anywhere close to going 10-2. Just, I was so off on all of these teams. Now, I did nail TCU and Texas Tech, so that's cool, I guess. And I was close on Arizona, Cincinnati, West Virginia. I thought Arizona and West Virginia would have down years after having a jump up last year, and I was correct. But, man, I could not have been further on some of those teams. The Pac-2, I guess I went 2-0 in the Pac-2 because I nailed Washington State. I had them going 8-4. I did have them winning the conference, though, with the win over Oregon State. But as we know, Oregon State ended up winning the conference with a 5-7 record, which I had them going 6-6, so close there. And then Notre Dame, technically I went 0-1 on over-unders because the over-under was set at 10.5. I had them going 10-2, and they went 11-1. So I was close, just not close enough. So, it's so hard to predict what's going to happen in a college football season, and this season in particular I think was a little more hectic. I guess to go just under 500 is cool, but still pretty bad. When it comes to conference champions, I had 4 of the 8 participating teams right, so that's pretty cool. Big Ten, I had Ohio State beating Oregon. As we know, Oregon beat Penn State. I had in the SEC, I had Georgia beating Texas, which is exactly what happened. ACC, I had Clemson beating NC State. Half right there. Clemson beat SMU. Big 12 kind of fucked me. I had Utah beating Kansas State, and as we know, Arizona State beat Iowa State, so I didn't even get either of those teams right. My playoff prediction, I kind of did pretty good. I got over 50% of the teams. I got 7 out of the 12 teams right. Now, did I get the seeding right on any of those 7 teams? No, wasn't even close. Well, that's not true. I was kind of close, but on some. But yeah, I did not get a single seed right, but I did get 7 of the 12 teams. I did have Georgia and Ohio State, but I also had Utah and Clemson all receiving byes, which ended up being Boise and Arizona State. Now, I had Boise and Oregon taking on each other. The winner takes on Clemson. As we know, Boise and Oregon did make it, and Clemson. Just didn't end up that way. I had Florida State and NC State with the winner taking on Utah. Neither of those teams sniffed the playoffs at all. I had Penn State going to Texas, winner taking on Ohio State. All 3 of those teams made it, just not in that order. And then I had Kansas State going to LSU, winner taking on Georgia. Georgia made it. They did take a bye. They are not facing Kansas State or LSU. And then for the national championship, I had Georgia over Ohio State, which is still very possible. Now, obviously, Carson Beck's injury, that's going to be another thing to talk about once the playoffs come, and Ohio State's offensive line health. But Georgia and Ohio State for the national championship, that's still a possibility. Also, when it comes to coaches getting fired preseason, I had 3 coaches on the hot seat getting fired this year. I had Sam Pittman gone. I had Dave Aranda gone. I had Neil Brown getting his seat warm but not getting fired, which I guess I was kind of close on that. And then, who's the last coach I had? It was Pittman, Aranda, Napier. All 3 coaches are still with their teams. Aranda's been extended, or at least is coming back next year. I don't know about an extension. Napier's been announced he's coming back next year, and Sam Pittman hasn't been fired yet. So I was off on that as well. And yeah, that's really all I have for my preseason, takes. I was so off when it came to the Big 12, thinking teams weren't going to be that good or have a down year or having a great year, and vice versa happened. But But that just goes to show you never know what's going to happen in the sport. I absolutely love it. I realized I never gave out a Heisman pick preseason. I know like week 1 or week 2 I said Ashton Genty was a dark horse, and that's cool because he is a finalist. But yeah, I never actually gave out a Heisman pick, so I'll have to make sure to do that next year because I was looking for it and I did not see it. Who knows? Maybe I said it and I just don't remember, but I did not write it down. Army-Navy's happening this weekend. I do have a couple bets for that. Army, first drive, touchdown, plus 230. It's happened in 10 of 12 games so far this year. Why can't it happen this year? Also, give me the under 39.5 at minus 110. This under has hit in 10 straight. They hit 41 in 2013 or something like that. So 10 straight games, though, have been under 39.5. I'm going to buy into that trend as well. And then one flyer that I'm going to take a little bet on is Army team total over 23.5 at minus 112. Army has not hit this number since 2001. They have hit 23 once since 2001. I think they're due, and I think this is the team that's going to do it. We've seen Navy blow out Army and score in the upper 20s, low 30s, even, I think they've even hit 40 before and 50, but Army has never really ever dominated like that, and I think this is the year that they could do that. I also think this is the best, or one of the best, Army offense, Army defense combos. There's been years where the offense is really explosive, scoring a lot of points, and the defense is just average enough, and then vice versa, where the defense is stifling teams, but the offense is also just not producing a lot. And I think this is a year that Army's got a good combination, and so I think right now the line's at minus 6.5 for Army. I honestly would look into taking that as well. I think Army does literally run away with this one and wins by probably 10 points at least. That would be my guess. So yeah, those are my bets for Army-Navy. I'll also post those tomorrow before the game. But yeah, that's really all I had today. There's no football really being played, so I did warn you this was going to be a shorter episode and that there was not going to be a lot. Next week, I will start previewing playoffs, start getting into some bowl games. I might be posting some videos, short videos, just quick previews of bowl games like day of. We'll see. It's just like I said, it's so hard to preview bowl games. They are just impossible to predict with opt-outs and whatnot. So thank you all for joining me. Enjoy Army-Navy if that's what you're into. Enjoy the transfer portal if that's also what you're into. And I will be back next week to preview the playoffs.